you, motherfucker. Can beat your ass with this fucking flashlight if I find you. Hello?
Sometimes the woods don't feel wrong because of what you see. It's what you hear. Footsteps where no one should be. Movement that doesn't match any animal you know. And silence when you call out, expecting an answer. Daniel from the YouTube channel English Woodsman has been documenting wilderness adventures and solo camping trips across the UK countryside for 7 years. He's experienced, calm, and knows these woods well. This particular evening was supposed to be simple. A peaceful overnight camp in local woodland just 20 minutes from civilization. His final video before taking a break from YouTube. Nothing extreme. Just Daniel, his gear, and a quiet night under the trees.
To be fair to you, it feels strange saying I'm going to have a little bit of time off YouTube. So I've been YouTubing like for 7 years now. This channel, proper digging at it for about 3 years and stuff, but I've had other channels in the past. And I am on about setting up another channel as well. So I definitely need the break. I hope people can understand. I'm sure your life won't be over not seeing me for a week or so. It's just, sometimes you need to stop and relax, don't you? And that's what's due. Nice evening as well. Really nice evening. I've never been this far before, so I thought I'd film it, to be fair, for some strange reason. So you can go up there, or you can take this path. You know what, I'm going to stick to path down here. Just keep walking. Now this is what's good about being outdoors. Free food, if I can reach them. Yeah, I don't want that one, do I? I think it's going to focus all right there. It's a bit bad, that one. Very nice.
The setup was perfect. Daniel found a comfortable spot against a tree with faint sounds of a football match echoing in the distance. He fired up his camp stove, started brewing coffee, and settled in for a relaxing evening. Everything was going exactly as planned. Peaceful, normal, the kind of night that reminds you why you love the outdoors. But that didn't last long.
And rain camping is really good. Is that a badger? Hello? I hope I got that on camera. I really hope I did. Because if I didn't, and I'm showing this, people won't believe that. Just, my heart's beating a bit quick there. I'll just give you a full circle round of what I'm looking at. Now, apart from them in the distance playing whatever they're doing, whatever sport they're doing, football or something, I've just heard like someone walked literally past me. And I mean literally walked past me. That is strange. And that is strange. I'm going to put it down, there could just be something behind me here. But it sounded like human footsteps.
Footsteps. Clear and close. Something was walking right past Daniel in the dry woodland, where every step crunched loudly enough to be identified. It didn't sound like a badger or a deer. It sounded human. Daniel called out. No response. Just silence. He tried to rationalize it as an animal, kept cooking his spicy noodles, kept filming. But 15 minutes later, it happened again.
There's that noise again now. Hello? Hello? You got to better hear that. There's nobody here. And it sounds like something's just walking around. I can handle it. Can you wear it? How can I hear that? It's like it's just there. I need to drain some of this out. Wow. Bloody hell. No, I'm not crying, so I'm nervous and babbing myself and crying because wow. That's what. So I'm gonna put the full packet in as well there. Colour of that. I am nervous. I'm not gonna lie. Doing it once is alright, but 2 times it almost sounded identically the same sort of noise. I don't like this. I don't like this spot. I don't like any of this. If he does it one more time, then I'm moving.
Twice now. Same sound, same pattern. Daniel called out again. Nothing. No voice. No startled rustling. Only that deliberate movement circling his position. Animals don't travel in repeated loops. They forage and move on. The repeated, deliberate pacing showed intent. Daniel set a boundary. One more incident, and he would leave. But around 10 p.m., as full darkness settled, it happened a 3rd time. That was it. Daniel packed up and left.
Daniel's footage didn't stay in the woods. When CaseOh, one of the most watched streamers on the internet, reacted to this clip live in front of thousands of viewers, his verdict was immediate. No hesitation, no debate. In his words, that sound was human. 2 feet, deliberate, not a badger, not a deer. And his audience agreed. Nobody called Daniel a coward for leaving.
Not because he was inexperienced. He's been doing this for 7 years. but because 3 separate incidents of unexplained footsteps circling his camp with no response to his calls triggered every instinct telling him to go. And in the wilderness, ignoring those instincts can turn a stormy night into something dangerous. So what was it? An animal mimicking human footsteps perfectly? Another hiker who refused to respond 3 times? Sometimes you encounter things in the woods that don't have clear explanations, and sometimes the most brilliant move is trusting that feeling and leaving before it escalates. Daniel made the right call. 2 logs that stood upright are now lying flat. A flashlight turns on by itself with the switch still in the off position, and something near the riverbank makes a sound loud enough to stop you cold. October 2024. CJ Faison is a YouTuber known for exploring haunted mines and forgotten ghost towns, places most people avoid. But this time, he wasn't hunting ghosts. He was trying something new, his first solo van camping trip. No friends, no backup. And the location he chose was the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, a million-acre sprawl of dense forest with a dark reputation. Locals call it cursed. Some say it's home to the Jersey Devil. Others claim something worse lurks there. People. And because it's New Jersey, CJ couldn't bring weapons for protection, just his bare hands in a van. He arrived just after dark, parking deep off a sandy trail as he stepped out. The ground beneath him sounded hollow, like something was buried underfoot. Strange, but he brushed it off. The night started normally. He set up camp, filmed for his audience, and even joked about how peaceful it felt. But in the Pine Barrens, peace doesn't last.
I just pulled up. That's weird. Sounds very hollow.
CJ went for a short bike ride to explore the area. When he returned, something had changed.
I feel very nervous because this, completely solo. You're in the middle of the woods. I'm going to get my stuff. I'm going to go on a little bike ride here, and we're going to go explore around together.
2 thick logs he'd stood upright earlier were now lying flat, knocked over cleanly. No wind, no animals nearby. CJ tried to rationalize it, but the unease was setting in.
Those 2 logs are knocked over. The 2 logs are actually knocked over. I know for a fact that one was standing up, and I know that I'm 99% sure that one was standing up too.
He closed the van, locked up, and kept filming. Then strange noises started coming from outside, followed by a dim red light flickering at the edge of camp. A flashlight he'd never seen before, blinking in the brush. When he picked it up to inspect it, the power switch was still in the off position. Somehow it had turned itself on.
Come on, that's somebody's flashlight. Hello? Hello? Obviously. A damn flashlight doesn't fall clean out of the sky. Hello?
As he ran back toward the van, frustration kicked in. It was clear someone, or something, was messing with him.
You motherfucker. Can beat your ass with this fucking flashlight if I find you.
Then it got worse. An exterior light flipped on by itself. His cameras started dying one by one, batteries draining, overheating warnings flashing even though it was cool outside. Then came a sound from near the riverbank. A single, heavy bang, deliberate, loud enough to freeze him in place.
All right, come the f*** on. Who's out here? Who's out here? I'm 9,000% sure that light was not on. 9,000%.
He called out. No response, just silence pressing in from all sides. He rushed to check the area near the riverbank, but there was nothing visible.
No fucking way. Hello? Listen, dude. Listen. If you're fucking with me, just come out and say it.
CJ checked the nearby toilet building. Nothing. but he was certain the sound had come from that direction.
I'm 9,000% sure that boom or bang came from that right there. 100% came from that right there.
Finally, CJ barricaded himself inside the van for the night. No more exploring. Just the hum of his Starlink antenna and the persistent feeling of being watched from the dark.
No one tried to break in the van that I know of, at least. I think when I fell asleep, I was just like, ow. I enjoy the van camping thing. I felt way safer than when I'm like camping in a tent, that's for sure.
Morning came. The bike was untouched. The van was fine. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt right. The Pine Barrens were quiet again. Too quiet. Because whatever had been out there that night didn't need to show itself to convince CJ it was real. The knocked-over logs, the self-activating flashlight, the bang from the riverbank. None of it had explanations. And CJ left the Pine Barrens knowing one thing for sure. He wasn't alone out there. Casino parking lots feel like safe bets for overnight stays. Security cameras, foot traffic, lights. The illusion that being near civilization means being protected. But when two vehicles start circling your camper van at night, when strangers linger and watch from their cars, that illusion shatters fast. Because you realize security cameras don't stop someone from casing your van. Foot traffic disappears after midnight, and all those lights just make you more visible to whoever's decided you're a target. Tanya and Dave, Let's Turn It Up World, a YouTube channel documenting their camper van lifestyle across scenic campgrounds and quirky roadside stops. They've embraced both the joys and challenges of full-time RV living. But during one stay in a casino parking lot near Lone Pine, California, what began as an ordinary overnight rest turned into something far more unsettling. After a 4-hour drive from their previous campground, they parked next to an abandoned hotel by the casino. Practical, free, convenient for a quick night's sleep. When they arrived, everything seemed fine. They even explored the area and found remnants of an abandoned amusement park nearby. Silent roller coasters, rusting water rides, nature reclaiming what was left behind. Eerie, but fascinating. By nightfall, though, the mood shifted dramatically.
This is not functioning right now, so it is a definite no-go on that one, because I would have totally said, let's get some tickets.
I agree. Right? It definitely looks like it's been kind of abandoned over here for quite a bit. I mean, look at this, like just all the grass is growing and everything. And this is very cool too, right? Looking like an old water slide, almost like a
like
kind
a
of those log rides, like Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain.
Come down here.
Come down and wisp right onto that one over there. That's pretty cool.
Right. This must have been a lot of fun this day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. It looks. Hopefully they revive this. I mean, it doesn't look too weathered. Almost like with a little love and some dollars, you could probably bring this back.
I know. I don't see any signs yet of any comeback.
Yeah.
Any work on it, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
Tanya noticed a man in a black car lingering nearby. His questions were strange, asking if they were first person or veterans, phrasing that didn't quite make sense. His presence felt out of place. After a brief exchange, he drove off, but the uneasy feeling stayed. Tanya mentioned it to the security guards, but the man's car remained in the lot, hovering, circling. That feeling deepened when the same black Ford Explorer returned later, this time accompanied by a white van with few windows.
This guy right there is just like randomly came up to us and asked if we were first person or veterans, and now he's driving around the parking lot. Dude, it's kind of creepy. So I let the security guards know, but he's out there just hovering around the parking lot. Oh man, that's a little unsettling. So I just turned the lights off. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to cook dinner. This is crazy, Dave.
It's crazy. I know it is. The guy's racing around the parking lot.
Racing. So I just turned the lights off. Hold on, let's close this up. I gotta finish my meal. Oh, I know, Bubby. Mom is watching. Yikes.
Right? No, it's crazy.
Both vehicles began circling the lot, moving slowly past the camper as if sizing it up. Eventually, they parked nearby. The occupants remained inside, watching. A security guard later confirmed the man in the black car had been acting erratically earlier, which only heightened their concern. The pattern was unmistakable. Tanya and Dave were being cased. Their van, bikes, and belongings were possibly being evaluated as targets. The white van seemed especially suspicious, designed perfectly for concealing stolen property or worse.
Car feels a little weird as well, just kind of sitting there. Oh gosh. That is the same one that was there earlier. The Ford that was there earlier that also kind of circled by. Black Ford Explorer. Oh my goodness gracious. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm just worrying too much or... Let's see.
With nerves fraying, Tanya and Dave made the call to leave immediately. They secured their things, shut off the lights, and quietly pulled out of the lot. During the tense drive to a truck stop they'd used before, they kept checking mirrors, worried they might be followed. Relief only came when they arrived safely at the familiar location. By morning, they were rested, but the lesson was clear. When your gut says something's wrong, act. Don't wait. The repeated appearances, slow passes, and coordinated presence of two vehicles, a black car doing reconnaissance and a white van ready for loading, suggest far more than coincidence. Whether it was theft, intimidation, or something worse, the behavior showed classic signs of a targeted setup. Tanya and Dave's decision to leave likely prevented them from becoming another statistic. Because if they'd stayed, what would have happened before morning? Would it have been just their belongings stolen, or would the situation have escalated into something far more dangerous? When you're alone on a moor at night and something makes a sound that's not a deer, not a fox, and not anything you recognize, that's when you realize how isolated you really are. December 19th, 2021. YouTuber Novice Wild Camper headed into the Peak District National Park in England to test gear modifications after a windy previous trip. He chose White Edge, Big Moor, remote, scenic, recommended by other campers. He arrived in the early evening, set up his tent, and settled in as the darkness fell. Everything seemed normal until his camera began malfunctioning and strange sounds drifted across the moor.
White Edge, Big Moor, around that area. Have a look. I haven't got a clue what it's going to be like, but it's been recommended, so hopefully should be all right. Anyway, let's get on the path and I'll bring you back in a minute. Hopefully this is recording because I've made about 3 recordings now and halfway through it stops the film but carries on with the audio, which is a bit weird. I don't know what's going on with this camera, but I don't think I'm going to be doing much more. It's about 9:30 now, so I'm probably going to hit the sack shortly and I'll catch you guys in the morning. Right, so I've heard deer, I've heard foxes. Make some really weird noises at night, but I don't know if you heard that. I'm not sure if the camera picked it up, but God knows what it is. It's quite a weird guttural sound.
Around 9:30, he heard it. A guttural sound, deep, strange, unlike anything he'd encountered before. He knew deer. He knew foxes. This was neither. It came from somewhere close, just beyond the tent. Throughout the night, he woke repeatedly to the same noise. Each time closer. Each time, it is more unsettling.
Did you hear that? That's quite eerie. It does not sound like a deer. Definitely doesn't sound like a fox.
Whatever made that sound remained hidden. He never saw it. When morning came, the moor was silent, as if nothing had happened. But the footage remained. The guttural calls caught on audio. To this day, no one has identified what creature made those sounds on White Edge that December night. Truck camping means accepting a certain level of vulnerability. You're sleeping in a metal box in parking lots, rest stops, public land, places where anyone can walk up at any hour. Most nights pass without incident, but every solo camper knows that nagging feeling when something feels off. A vehicle is circling too many times. footsteps too close to your door, figures moving in the darkness who shouldn't be there. And when that feeling hits at midnight in an empty lot, every sound becomes a potential threat. The YouTube channel Salvage to Scenic is known for calm overland adventures and off-grid escapes. But in a video titled "The Most Scared I've Been," the creator shares an account of a truck camping night that went terribly wrong. The evening started normally. After a long day of travel, he parked in a public lot to rest. But around midnight, everything unraveled. A vehicle pulled up nearby, honked, and began circling his truck. Then, a man walked close enough to make contact with the front corner of his car. And under a nearby security camera, two figures dressed head to toe in black appeared, deliberately staying in the camera's blind spot, placing a large bag on the ground.
I'm looking out the window right now at two people in all black in hoods. They're hiding under a security camera, like probably out of sight. And they've got a bag on the ground, like a big duffel or backpack or something. And I don't know if they're like doing a drug deal or if they've got tools in there and they're fixing to break into my garage. But I don't really like this. Suddenly they have vanished. It looked like they went around that back corner of the building, but I don't really know. 10 minutes later, and they're back.
Watching from inside his truck, he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The two figures in black lingered for several minutes, then vanished around the back of a building. 10 minutes later, they returned. Then, shouting. Engines revving. Strange noises are echoing through the lot. Was it a drug deal? A setup for theft? Something worse? He couldn't tell, and that uncertainty was the most terrifying part. He stayed on high alert for hours, using his rear-view camera system to monitor the surroundings, unable to fully relax. Even when exhaustion eventually forced him into brief sleep, the unease never left. Every sound outside could have been someone approaching. Every shadow could have been those figures in black coming back. By daylight, the tension gave way to relief. The stunning scenery and freedom of solo exploration reminded him of why he chooses this lifestyle, despite its risks. But the incident underscored the vulnerability of solo truck campers, especially in public or unregulated areas. The presence of security cameras may have deterred something worse, but the deliberate avoidance of those cameras suggests the figures knew precisely what they were doing. Viewers debated what really happened. Some suspect the individuals were scouting vehicles for theft. Others think it was an illicit transaction. A few argue that fatigue and isolation amplified regular activity into perceived danger. But their behavior, staying in camera blind spots, circling the truck, leaving and returning multiple times, suggests intent. That pattern wasn't random. They were there for a reason. And whatever that reason was, it involved staying hidden and testing whether the truck camper inside was awake or vulnerable. For seasoned truck campers, the story raises a chilling question. When you're parked alone in a seemingly ordinary lot, how can you ever be sure you're truly safe? A pile of what looks like trash beside the trail. But when you get closer, you realize it's not trash. It's someone's remains. August 2025. YouTuber Paul was hiking a remote section of the Pacific Crest Trail, pushing toward his next resupply point 180 miles away. He'd just survived a violent storm that knocked out power to an entire town. When he set back out the next morning, the air felt calm, fresh, peaceful, just another day of hiking through the wilderness.
Morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning, and it's about 7:15. In about 15 minutes, I should be getting a ride back to the trail with the motel manager from here. I stayed an extra night in Burney. I only intended to do one, but I ended up doing two. Basically because I ran out of time to do stuff. There was way too much to do. I had 5 videos to edit and upload. I had to go to the post office twice, do a resupply for 2 sections. and it just left me too much to do in like the time I had. So as it turns out, I'm pretty glad that I did stay an extra night, because yesterday was pretty eventful. So I had to switch rooms yesterday, because I was in a room with 2 beds yesterday, and they needed that, so they needed to switch me into a room with just 1 bed. I couldn't get into that until 4:30 yesterday, even though it was supposed to be about 12:30, because there was a maintenance issue with it. I later found out the maintenance issue is that as soon as you put anything in the toilet and try to flush it, it blocks. So that's been interesting. And then also last night, I would say maybe 6:30 or 7ish, something like that, it started raining, thundering and lightning. And it was a pretty big storm. Like, some of those cracks of thunder were massive. And I was sat out here watching the fork lightning. It was pretty crazy, and it went on for a good few hours. About an hour into the storm, the power went out for the entire town. And it stayed like that until I think it was about 1 a.m. this morning when it clicked back on again. So it's just a good job that I'd already charged all my electronics apart from my phone. So yeah, wasn't quite I was looking forward last night to just being able to sort of like sit on the bed and watch TV for a good couple of hours, because I'd got everything done. And obviously I couldn't do that, but it's not the end of the world. Anyway, today I'm getting back on trail, as I say, in about 15 minutes time. I'm being a bit ambitious this time. There's quite a few kind of like little stops that are off the trail on the way up towards Oregon. I want to minimize the stops, so I'm going to try and get to Etna next, which is just over 180 miles away.
As he hiked through the post-storm landscape, he noticed a pine cone arranged into a heart shape, someone's small tribute. He hoped everyone made it through the weather safely. Then, about 50 feet off the trail, he saw something that looked like trash or maybe a sleeping bag. No one was nearby. It was too still. Paul decided to investigate.
I did see a few people I know that had been posting on Instagram that they were caught up in it. Someone's been busy there, making a pinecone heart. So yeah, I just hope that everyone's all right after last night. I know it's all right saying it was beautiful and impressive, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of people out there last night, just in tents in probably some pretty bad places.
As he got closer, reality hit. It wasn't trash. It was the remains of a hiker. Backpack, sun umbrella, trekking poles, all the gear of a thru hiker. Then he saw leg bones, a tent nearby, and finally, the
volcanic feature. I'm going to guess it's either a sill or a dike. I can't remember the difference between them. But just through here on some of the rocks, there seems to be a big pile of, it kind of looks like trash, but it also looks like it could be a sleeping bag. And I can't see anyone there. It's just a little bit strange, so I'm just going to have a wander in and make sure that there's nothing nasty going on. Hello? Oh my
Goodness me. Oh no. Oh no. I'm not sure if I've just found or not. Well, that was something I didn't expect at all. I've heard of it happening a couple of times on the trail this year so far, but I didn't think it would happen to me. I've just found somebody's remains at the side of the trail. And when I say the side of the trail, kind of like off that side of the trail, maybe 50 feet or so. I thought it was a pile of trash to start with, and I thought I would just go and investigate. When I got closer to it, it became obvious that it was the remains of a hiker. There was a backpack there, a sun umbrella, some trekking poles, and then I spotted the leg bones. The tent was there, you know, all the sort of stuff you would associate with a through hiker or a long section hiker. And then when I turned around to leave the scene to get back to the trail, to figure out what to do, that's when I spotted this. And that just obviously confirmed everything. There was a couple behind me, Adam and Jennifer, thank goodness. They helped me out, and Adam called 911. He had a little bit of service.
Thankfully, 2 hikers behind him, Adam and Jennifer, caught up. Adam called 911 with what little service he had. Deputies were on their way. That evening, Paul set up camp, still haunted by what he'd seen, hoping his discovery would bring closure to a grieving family and finally allow the unknown hiker to rest in peace. There's a moment in every camping trip where you have to decide whether to push forward or turn back. A weird feeling.
Can you hear me?
An unexpected vehicle. Something that makes your instincts scream, leave. Most people ignore those warnings. Sometimes they're right to ignore them. And sometimes they get shot at. Johnny Hayes runs the YouTube channel Florida Boy Johnny, covering everything from RC car racing to wilderness camping adventures. He usually keeps things light and fun, but in October 2021, a routine camping trip with his girlfriend Danielle turned into a life-threatening encounter that required police intervention. What started with minor red flags, an abandoned truck, overgrown trails, lost water, escalated into gunfire close enough to hear the bullet whip past their heads and strike the tree beside them. That gunfire wasn't distant hunting. It was targeted. And they were miles from any help.
Oh, there we go.
There's somebody down here already.
Uh-oh.
That's kind of spooky.
It's spooky. What are we gonna do?
Well, he's parked exactly where we need to be. Of all places.
Dig.
I'm gonna find another spot.
The first red flag came immediately. Johnny and Danielle pulled up to their planned parking spot and found an old truck sitting exactly where they needed to be. In the middle of nowhere. No one around. Just a vehicle parked in the precise location they'd scouted. Weird, but not alarming enough to abort. So they pressed on, hiking about 2 miles through overgrown trails, losing water from punctured gear, swatting away massive spiders. Standard camping adversity. Nothing they couldn't handle. They finally reached their campsite, set their bags down, and Johnny stopped recording to start setting up camp.
Can you hear me? We're heading back the other way. Grab your bag. We're trying to find the trail. We're heading back the other direction. Hurry.
Oh, I'm trying.
That was a 22. It went right over our heads. So we just got shot at. We hit the tree right next to us.
No way.
Within 2 feet.
So I could have died in there.
I just stopped recording too, and it whizzed by.
You want to keep going up that trail, or you want to go back down that one? We'll see if he's up over there.
So we just got shot at. We were, and I just stopped recording, but there is somebody deep in the woods that direction. Shot what sounded like a 22, hit a tree about 2 feet away from us. And we were finding a spot to set up, and we had just set our bags down. I set the camera down after I stopped recording, and a bullet, 22, whizzed right above our heads into the tree that we were standing next to. And so I yelled out to him, whoever it was, got no response. Yelled out several more times, got one response, no idea what he said.
A gunshot. Close. A bullet. A .22 caliber round. Whipped past Johnny and Danielle and struck a tree about 2 feet above their heads. Not a distant crack echoing through the forest. Right there. Close enough to hear it cut through the air. Johnny yelled out immediately, trying to identify themselves as human, not a target. No response. He yelled again and again. Finally, one response, but too garbled to understand. Then silence. And that silence was worse than the gunshot. Here's what makes this terrifying. Johnny was wearing a bright orange backpack. In hunting culture, orange is the universal "don't shoot me, I'm human" signal. No experienced hunter mistakes bright orange for an animal. And the shot wasn't random. It was too close, too precise. Someone knew exactly where they were.
My name's Danielle Hogan, but the person you'll be calling is Johnny Hayes. My boyfriend's wearing a black shirt and tan jeans, and I'm wearing a tan shirt and blue jeans right now. And then he has an orange backpack, and I've got a gray one. Okay. She's having people come out here.
Like on foot or what?
I don't know. Oh, she said with this she's gonna have people come out here.
Okay, so yeah, just let them know that we're gonna go ahead and keep heading north just a little bit on the trail. Then we're gonna intersect what looks like somebody's driveway because it's the clearest way to get to the clearing, it looks like. But as soon as we get to that point, we will be on somebody's property. So, but that's, I mean, I don't really want to go through the. Okay, sounds good. We'll head that way. All right, bye. I'm gonna try to find that trail. We're gonna get onto Harper
Did you say they didn't have any core units?
No. But somebody's going to meet us with a four-wheeler. Not on the trail, but off of Harper. So. Okay, so we just got off the phone with a local police number. We're too far out for anybody to meet us, so we're having to track back through the woods and make our way over to an access road. But we have to go through all this crap to get to it. I'm recording just in case anything happens again, because when it happened the first time, I had just stopped recording when the shots came out. We were just off of the trail, and whoever this was, they had to have known where we were the whole time. One of those shots landed right above our heads in the tree that we were standing by. And essentially, we're right here. The round hit about right here.
They called the police immediately. You can hear the fear in Danielle's voice as she describes their clothing, their location, and the shot. The response? Police couldn't send anyone. They were too far out. Johnny and Danielle were on their own, forced to hike back through the same woods where someone had just fired at them. Every step of that 2-mile trek out must have felt like walking through crosshairs. When they finally reached safety and met with officers, the explanation they got was both reassuring and chilling. Hunting season had just opened. The entire trail area was legal hunting ground, and according to the officer, after mid-September, the woods fill with idiots who don't follow basic safety rules. The implication? The gunfire was likely not intentional, just reckless stupidity. But does that distinction matter when a bullet passes 2 feet from your head?
As far as like hunting season goes,
There's
a whole bunch of stuff that just opened up yesterday. Yeah. And this whole area, the whole trail area.
Yeah.
It's you can hunt on it.
Okay.
And stuff. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Our hunting season starts a lot earlier out there, and general rule of thumb is we don't really go into the woods after the 15th of September, because that's when everything opens up, and you got to deal with the idiots, and you got to deal with the people from Jersey.
We had just stopped, and all of a sudden we had one round go right past us, maybe 10 feet, and then another one right above our head, and literally like 2 feet above our head into the tree, and it just sounded like a 22.
I'll go down. I'm gonna see if I can make contact with someone. I saw a blue truck down in one of the areas down there.
Yeah, I seen the blue truck. Is the white pickup truck your guys?
Right here.
Okay.
And from here to here is where we kind of lost the trail, but we were still kind of on it because we were using GPS and whatnot.
So what really happened? Was it a careless hunter who somehow missed the bright orange backpack, the human voices, the obvious signs of people? Or was it someone who wanted that area to themselves and decided to make their point with a warning shot that came dangerously close to not being a warning at all? The officer's casual tone suggests this kind of thing happens more than we'd like to think. Hunters are firing without confirming their target. Close calls that don't get reported because no one actually gets hit. But Johnny and Danielle were seconds, maybe inches, away from this story ending very differently. They walked away shaken but unharmed. The next campers might not be so lucky. Urban parking lots feel safer than remote wilderness. There are witnesses. Other campers are nearby. Streetlights. The illusion of security that comes from being surrounded by civilization. But sometimes that safety is just an illusion. Because when someone decides to target you specifically, ignoring every other vehicle in the lot, those witnesses don't help. The lights don't protect you. And you realize you're just as vulnerable in a city as you'd be miles from anywhere. In 2023, solo female van lifer Cat Lady Van shared one of her most unsettling experiences on the road. Having documented years of van life, from wilderness escapes to overnight city stops, she was no stranger to odd encounters. But this night in what seemed like an ordinary urban parking lot would prove different. She'd parked in a quiet spot within city limits with other vans and RVs scattered nearby, offering a sense of community without invading privacy. Everything felt routine until the early morning hours when she woke to loud, aggressive noises outside.
In the middle of the night, I woke up in the sound of several honk and a car that seems to drive all the time beside me. And I look up, and it was this pickup truck. This man was driving in front of my van, putting his high beam and blocking my exit out. Driving after that behind me, turning around, honking at me, and doing this for at least 10-15 minutes. Alright guys, I know you don't hear me, but there's a guy who's been driving around my van, just my van, and been honking and honking and honking, and he's just parked further into the parking lot, and I don't know if I should move.
A large white pickup truck had entered the lot and begun circling her van. The driver stopped directly in front of her, flipped on high beams to flood her windows, then looped back around to do it again. The horn blared repeatedly, each blast sharp, intentional, menacing. What made it terrifying was the selectivity. Other vans were parked nearby. Other campers are sleeping in the same lot. The truck ignored all of them. Only her van was targeted. For nearly 15 minutes, the truck boxed her in, blocking potential escape routes. It felt less like harassment and more like entrapment. She had to make a decision. Stay and hope the driver would leave, or drive away and risk escalating the situation or leading the driver to her following location.
Alright, I don't see the van anymore. The pickup truck, it's a white pickup truck, was turning behind my van and coming up and honking and just pointing their big lights into my van. There's another camper up the road. There's another camper here. He didn't bother them, so I don't know what was the deal, but I'm just gonna move, guys. I know, guys, you cannot see me, and if I feel like I've been followed, I'm just gonna drive in front of a police station. We're gonna go, we're gonna drive to a completely different town so we don't get arrested, or we don't get bothered again later.
She chose to leave. In silence, she pulled out and drove nearly 20 miles to another town, parking only when she found a spot near a police station where she finally felt safe enough to try sleeping again. The driver's motives remain a mystery. Was it someone who recognized her from social media and decided to intimidate her? A person with hostility toward van dwellers in general? Mistaken identity? Every possibility is disturbing, especially because no one else in that lot was harassed. This incident shatters the assumption that urban areas are inherently safer than isolated campsites. Being surrounded by other campers offered no protection when Cat Lady Van was specifically singled out. The witnesses didn't intervene. The proximity to civilization didn't deter the driver, and Cat Lady Van was left alone to make a life-or-death decision about whether to stay or flee. So what do you think? Random intimidation by someone who just didn't like van campers? Or something far more deliberate? Someone who knew who she was and wanted to send a message? Some journeys don't start with danger. They start with hope, new beginnings. The kind of optimism that makes you believe nothing bad could happen. But the road has a way of reminding you that vulnerability isn't a choice when your entire life is on wheels. On May 8th, 2023, Jen Knowles, a YouTuber documenting her full-time RV lifestyle, uploaded a video that began like so many cheerful travel vlogs. She and her partner Will had just left Florida with their dog Tucker, a brand new fifth-wheel trailer named Beth, and a truck called Rip, both after Yellowstone characters. Their first major destination? New Orleans, a city full of culture, energy, and the perfect kickoff to their cross-country adventure. Or so they thought.
Today we are getting on the road and heading all the way out west to California. But yeah, it's just kind of a little sad this morning. Of course, it's rainy and kind of set like a sad undertone to the day because we're leaving Matt. My parents came down to Florida for a couple weeks. They left this morning, so a lot of goodbyes happened today. We had a little bit of crying. No, I'm not about to cry. We already had our cries this morning, but we're trying to be positive. We're about to hit the road and head to New Orleans today. It's just always fun hooking up in the rain. I don't think we've had like one rainy day in Florida since we've been here, but it would pick today to rain.
I know, right? And
okay,
it's
maybe
cold.
it's Florida's way of like helping us to not miss it so much.
Right.
'Cause if we were like driving out of here and it was like sunny and perfect, it'd probably be even sadder.
It really would, yeah.
You ready to hit the road? Be a road trip doggy again? I guess I have to. Slides are in, awnings are in, jacks are up. Ready to hit the road?
I'm ready. This is a big trip in the making, Jenny.
Really, truly, this is our first big, like, RV trip.
I know.
You know, going out west.
Like, we've RV'd, but we haven't adventured in this yet.
Also, when we did our full tour of our new fifth wheel, we completely forgot to tell you guys what we decided to name our truck and our fifth wheel.
I know. How did we forget that?
If you guys are fans of the show Yellowstone, Will and I are big fans of the show. So we decided to name the truck Rip and the Paradigm Beth. So Rip's pulling Beth along down the road. And I think our trip just looks like Rip. Like if you watch the show and you know Rip's personality, like this truck just fits Rip.
It does, yeah.
The mood was light, emotional goodbyes with family, a little rain setting a bittersweet tone, but overall excitement about what lay ahead. It was their dream, freedom, adventure, life on their own terms. They settled into their campsite just outside New Orleans and got to work making their RV feel like home. But as the days passed, something started to feel off. Not with the RV. With Jen. She came down with something strange. Not a typical cold, but constant dizziness, like vertigo. A disconnected, dreamlike state that wouldn't go away. She tried to push through it while Will handled maintenance and errands.
So we just finished a couple things outside. We were trying to install a bed cover that we got from eTrailer, but it actually came a little bit damaged in the shipping. So they're going to actually figure it all out for us, whether it's getting a new one or getting new parts to fix that. But we were planning on doing that today now that we finally had some peace and space here at this campground. So that kind of sucks we can't install that today, but we did get our Max Chalks out for the first time and put those on. Now we are going to be putting our new mattress in our bedroom, which I'm excited about because so far we've been sleeping on the mattress that came with the fifth wheel, which I have to say wasn't terrible compared to like most built-in RV mattresses, but it is pretty firm and I wake up sometimes and my shoulders falling asleep. So I'm very excited to put our new Brooklyn bedding mattress in. So I think Will's going to come in. I'm going to use today as an opportunity to wash the sheets since we're changing the mattress out. And then we have tons of boxes that we need to take to the dump. So hopefully there's a dump around here. I'm taking a little break just to rest because I'm feeling pretty under the weather. And it's weird because it's definitely like a chest cold, but I don't
even feel that bad there. It's more, I think, the inner ear canal feels like I have fluid in it or something. So it feels like constant vertigo. So I just kind of feel like I'm in a dream state all the time, like I'm high on some NyQuil or something. So I'm just trying to like be somewhat productive today and kind of be easy on myself. So we'll see. It's a really nice day, so let's get done as much as we can.
Despite Jen's illness, they decided to venture into the city. New Orleans was everything you'd expect. Loud, chaotic, full of energy. But it wasn't exactly welcoming. The crowds felt overwhelming, the noise constant. The unpredictability is unsettling. They told themselves it was probably just the St. Patrick's Day weekend bringing out the rowdier side of the city. Maybe it wasn't always like this. But then they returned to their truck, and everything changed.
Oh. They're hot.
They are hot, yeah. Is it good?
Very light and fluffy. It almost kind of reminds me of like how a croissant has all those like layers.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we Well, no, I mean, I had some other tools. Nothing really that major. More would have just been like a pain in the butt. But they didn't take any of that. So, truthfully, it was stuff like, you know, toe straps and that light dad got me.
They took all that?
No, I'm saying all that stuff, it's not worth value.
Yeah.
But it would have been a pain in the butt to go and get all that stuff again.
I know.
You know?
Okay, let's leave.
And then, like, I got Jen, they probably got this. I got Jen's Valentine's Day card, and they just ripped it to shreds. Well, New Orleans put a little damper on our trip. So we truthfully didn't feel the most comfortable in New Orleans, being completely honest. And we were kind of like, hey, it's St. Patrick's Day weekend, and maybe people are just being a little crazy. We didn't know if we'd ever really come back, to be honest. And then we came out to the car, and I'm like, Jen, why'd you leave the window down? And she's like, I didn't leave the window down. And I'm like, get closer. And I'm like, somebody busted out our window. So.
And we didn't really have anything of value sitting out.
No. Luckily, I had a really nice Craftsman toolkit my parents bought me for Christmas years ago. I had it under the seat if it was in here, but we were doing a bunch of work on the RV yesterday, and I think I pulled it out for that. Keep your fingers crossed. I think it's in the RV. So.
Yeah, so we're a little rattled right now. We're here at a Lowe's that we're gonna go into and try to get the stuff to like patch the window real quick.
Yep. My guess is we're supposed to be leaving tomorrow morning. My guess is we'll have to get it fixed in Waco when we get there.
Yeah, which is our next stop.
And, you know, I don't even know. Maybe we'll call the insurance company. Maybe we won't, depending on how much it is, if it's worth filing a claim and all that. So,
yeah.
We did call the police, filed a police report just in case we need it. But, you know, I mean, in a big city like that, they're probably not even worried about the little petty theft.
The passenger window was shattered. Glass everywhere, covering the seats, the floor, scattered across the interior. At first, confusion, then the sinking realization. Someone had smashed their window and stolen what they could grab. Tools, cargo straps, and personal items. Nothing expensive, but all of it useful, and some of it irreplaceable. Worse than the theft itself? Tucker had been inside the truck. Their dog had nearly walked across broken glass. The violation wasn't just financial, it was personal. Someone had targeted them in broad daylight, near their campground, during their very first big stop on the road. The rest of the night was damage control, vacuuming shards out of the truck and taping plastic over the broken window, calling around to figure out repairs and debating whether filing an insurance claim was even worth it. They knew the chances of recovering their belongings were zero. But what hurt more than the loss was the feeling that stuck with them afterwards. The knowledge that they'd been vulnerable and someone had taken advantage of it. By morning, they weren't excited travelers exploring a vibrant city anymore. they were just ready to leave. Jen and Will admitted on camera that they'd felt unsafe much of the time in New Orleans, feelings they had tried to brush aside until this incident made them impossible to ignore. So they hit the road again, heading toward Waco, with the window sealed in plastic, emotions raw and trust shaken. It wasn't the kind of content they wanted to create, but it captured something most polished travel vlogs leave out: the reality that when your home is on wheels, you're not just visiting places, you're exposed. Every new city carries risk, and sometimes that risk becomes real. They left New Orleans with more than a broken window. They left with a new perspective on what full-time RV life really means. Because once your sense of safety is shaken, the road feels a little longer, a lot less free, and every new stop makes you wonder, will this one be safe? Or will it be worse? Living alone on the road means freedom. No rent, no routine, just you, your van, and endless possibilities. But it also means vulnerability, because when something feels wrong and you're miles from help, that freedom can flip into isolation in seconds. On March 30th, 2025, YouTuber Casey Johnston uploaded a video documenting one of the most unsettling experiences she's had on the road. Casey is a solo female van lifer who's built her entire lifestyle around self-reliance. She's self-taught, spent over a year converting her 2018 Ram ProMaster, nicknamed Maggie, into a fully functional home on wheels, and knows how to handle herself in difficult situations. But that morning, while parked in a small southern Utah town, Casey had an encounter that tested every survival instinct she had. Two men in a black car, circling, watching, knocking on her door, and refusing to leave.
If you have seen my other vlogs, you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, that was a really short morning montage, because usually I would show you guys me making coffee or breakfast here in the van, and that is just not what happened this morning. In fact, Olive and I had a fairly unsettling morning, and I'm going to tell you guys about it. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Casey. I live in my self-converted camper van, full-time on the road with my cat Olive. So just for some context, we are in a very small town in southern Utah, and we have already switched spots, but the spot we were at last night and this morning was actually a big dirt pull-off off the main road going in and out of town. So Olive and I woke up fairly early. I started working on my computer and recording some footage for the vlog, and I noticed at about 7 a.m. a black car went past us very slowly on the main road here. The speed limit is 40 miles an hour, and this car was going maybe 15 to 20 miles an hour, which struck me as odd, but they kept driving, so I really didn't think much of it. Until about 5 minutes later, the same car came back down the road and pulled off into the same lot as us and actually drove behind the van. And I was close enough to the car at this point that I could see there were two men in it. One was driving and one was in the passenger seat. And they actually went up a little road that was behind the lot that we were parked in. And they got to the end of the road, turned right back around, and then very slowly started coming back down the road towards the van. So this whole time I'm sat up here in the cab area very discreetly trying to watch what they're doing out this driver's side window. But once they got close enough back towards the van, I actually moved from up here into the back area because that is where I keep my safety items. And unfortunately, I don't have a window on the driver's side back there, so I lost my visual of them, but I could hear that they pulled their car up right along the driver's side of the van, and they actually honked their horn at us. Which, of course, I ignored. And after I didn't respond to their honk, one of them got out of the car and came up and started knocking on my driver's side window.
It started subtly. 7 a.m. Casey noticed a black car driving past her van unusually slowly, maybe 15 to 20 miles per hour in a 40 zone. Strange, but not immediately alarming. People slow down for all kinds of reasons. She kept working, kept filming her morning routine, but 5 minutes later, the same car came back. This time, it didn't just pass by. It pulled into the same dirt lot where her van was parked and circled behind her. From the cab area, Casey could see 2 men inside, one driving, one in the passenger seat. They drove up a side road behind the lot, reached the end, turned around, and started coming back toward her van, slowly, deliberately. That's when Casey moved to the back of her rig to grab her safety items, losing visual contact but hearing everything. The car pulled up alongside her driver's side. They honked. She ignored it. Then one of them got out and knocked on her window. They weren't the police. Wasn't security. Just 2 strangers at her door in the middle of nowhere, demanding her attention for reasons she couldn't see but could definitely feel.
Which I also ignored. And just to clarify, this was not a police car. This was not a security car. These were just 2 dudes in a car. So a couple minutes after I ignored the knocking, they finally left. They went back out onto the road and I watched them slowly drive away. At this point, I knew I needed to leave the lot, but I wasn't sure where I was going to go because again, this is a small town and it is surrounded by very desolate areas. So the last thing I wanted to do was immediately try to leave town, drive out into the middle of nowhere and have them follow me. So I was looking up on my phone options for places to go, and I kid you not, 30 to 45 minutes later, the same car comes back down the road and pulls off on a street just up the road from us. So my brain is immediately telling me, oh, these guys are up the street and now they're just watching you. So I decided to come here, about 3 minutes away to a local breakfast joint. I didn't see them follow me and I haven't seen them in the hour that I've been sat here now. But yeah, pretty weird morning. So all that to say, you guys, I've decided Olive and I are driving about 2 hours away from here today. I feel better about doing it now that it's later in the day and there are just more cars on the road in general. And we're also going to be passing through the 4 Corners, which is the intersection of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico here in the US. There's a monument there that I will bring you guys along with me to go see. But other than that, the only priority today is finding and getting to a place where we feel safe settling for the night. So yeah, let's hit the road. I'm ready to leave.
Casey stayed silent. Didn't open the door. Didn't respond to the knocking. After a few tense minutes, they finally left, driving back toward the main road. But she knew she couldn't stay there. The problem? It was a small town surrounded by a desolate desert. If she left immediately, and they followed her onto empty roads, she'd be in an even worse situation. Completely isolated, with no witnesses, and no help. So she waited. Searched for nearby options on her phone. And then, 30 to 45 minutes later, the same black car returned. This time, it parked on a street just up the road from her van, within clear view. Not driving past, not leaving, just sitting there, watching. That's when Casey made her move. She drove 3 minutes to a local breakfast restaurant, stayed there for an hour to make sure they hadn't followed, and then decided to leave town entirely. 2 hours down busier roads, a brief stop at the 4 Corners Monument, and finally, a more secure location for the night where she could breathe again. It wasn't a misunderstanding. The repeated passes, the circling, the knocking, the waiting, it all pointed to intent. Whether it was intimidation, an attempted setup, or outright stalking, the men's behavior crossed every line. And for solo travelers like Casey, moments like this can escalate fast. No backup, no one to call, just your instincts and whatever decisions you make in the moment. Casey handled it smartly, stayed calm, didn't engage, moved to a public place, and got out of town when it was safer to do so. But the question lingers. What if they had followed her onto those open desert roads? What if she hadn't noticed them the first time? What if she'd opened that door? Fishing trips are supposed to be peaceful. You, the water, maybe a buddy cracking jokes while you wait for something to bite. The kind of quiet that makes you forget about everything else. But when you're camping alone and something big starts pushing against your tent at 2 a.m., and that peace evaporates fast. Because suddenly you're not wondering if the fish are biting. You're wondering if you're about to become bait. Joseph is a fisherman from northern West Virginia who documents his adventures chasing the perfect catch across quiet creeks, backwoods ponds, and remote waters. His YouTube channel is all about sharing those fishing experiences with his audience. But during this trip to Lake Cray, what started as a relaxing maiden voyage in a new canoe turned into a night he won't forget. Because at 2 a.m., alone in his tent, Joseph woke up to something significant pushing against the fabric, and the sounds it made left no doubt. This wasn't a raccoon.
Just woke up, heard something like a weird noise. What the hell is it? There's something else. First. What the? Yeah, that sounds like a bear, like for real. Oh shit. I think it stopped, man. It like pushed my whole tent in right here. I'm about to go look. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I thought I heard it kind of run away. What the f?
The day had started perfectly normal. Joseph and his buddy Rick loaded up the canoe, barely squeezing it between their two trucks, and headed out for an afternoon of fishing. The fishing itself wasn't spectacular. They kept pulling in what Joseph calls dinksters, stunted little bass from an overpopulated pond that just won't grow. But that's fishing. Sometimes the best part isn't the catch, it's the experience. As the sun set, Rick headed home, while Joseph decided to stay and try his luck with some night fishing for catfish. He set up his new Bushnell pop-up tent, excited to test it out, and settled in for what he hoped would be a quiet night by the water. But at 2 a.m.
Alright guys, well, I'm probably gonna head to bed. Probably gonna get up early, hit the lake again. Got my mattress pad, got the sleeping bag. This little tent's alright. This ain't bad at all. Not like crazy roomy, but it's pretty good. Could fit 2 people in here. I just woke up. I heard something like a weird noise. What the hell is it?
Something woke him. A noise. Then, pressure against the tent wall. Something significant was right outside, pushing the fabric inward, close enough that Joseph could feel the weight of it pressing against the shelter. The sounds it made weren't ambiguous. Deep, guttural. The kind of noise that instantly tells you this isn't something small wandering through camp. Joseph grabbed his flashlight and tried to assess the situation without panicking. A bear, almost certainly a black bear. And it wasn't just passing by. It had stopped at his tent, investigating, pushing against the walls like it was testing whether something inside was worth the effort. When Joseph finally worked up the courage to look outside, the bear had moved off, or at least wasn't visible anymore. But the threat wasn't gone. Bears that approach tents at night often come back, especially if they think there's food involved. Joseph immediately started building the most significant fire he could manage, hoping the flames would act as a deterrent. He debated his options: tough it out in the tent and hope the bear doesn't return, or retreat to the safety of his truck and admit he's outmatched. Black bears are common in West Virginia. Most encounters are harmless. Bears spook easily and generally avoid humans. But when they associate campsites with food, or when they're curious enough to push against a tent at 2 a.m., the line between harmless encounter and dangerous situation gets blurry fast. Joseph handled it well. Stayed calm, built a fire, grabbed protection, made smart decisions. But the night wasn't over, and every sound in the darkness probably felt like the bear coming back. There's a big difference between hearing distant gunshots in the wilderness and hearing them get closer. One is background noise you can rationalize. The other is a threat you can't ignore, especially when voices start calling out locations, and you realize they might be talking about your campfire. Arnold Outdoors is a YouTube channel dedicated to wilderness adventures, fishing, hunting, and exploring remote areas of the Pacific Northwest. In February 2021, Arnold and his buddy headed deep into the backcountry near Bend, Oregon, hoping for a peaceful winter camping trip away from civilization. The plan was simple: find a secluded spot, set up camp, and enjoy some steak and crab legs around the fire. But from the moment they arrived, nothing about this trip went according to plan.
Still trying to find a spot. We found another little off-road, offshoot road. Try to see what this little sign is down here. What is that? I gotta zoom in on it with the camera to see what it is. OHV only, I think.
And more traveling. More sagebrush. And it's officially really friggin' dark now.
Yeah. So, we're in the middle of flipping nowhere. You can't even see nothing. You can see the glow of Bend, I think, back that way. I don't think it comes through on the camera, but over there you can see the glow of Bend. Yeah. And over there you can see one lone little, or two actually. Yeah, you can't see shit. Like fire. Yeah. Maybe a fire, possibly 2 or 3 miles off, and another little light way off. But yeah, we're not going to know what this place even looks like till tomorrow, so. Alright, so we gotta leave. There's creepy ass people with red headlamps coming towards us out of the woods. Well, here's what happened. About 400 yards off. No, not even.
Their first red flag came early. After driving through snowy back roads for hours, searching for the perfect spot, they finally thought they'd found it. Until they saw people with red headlamps emerging from the woods about 300 yards away, moving toward their position in the middle of the night. Smart call. They packed up immediately and relocated to what they hoped was a safer, more isolated area. This time, the spot seemed better. Tent up, fire crackling, mountain house meals cooking. One of those perfect winter camping moments where everything feels right. Until 11:30 p.m. when they started hearing gunshots.
Our exact coordinates, but we're about 17 miles from Bend, about 7 miles from Paulina Lake. And just with those two descriptions, if you drew a couple of circles, you could probably pinpoint our location. If you have the time. But that's roughly where we are. Out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, kinda. You hear that? Yeah, what was that, a gunshot? Gunshot or a vehicle? Vehicle. Or Bigfoot's fucking screaming. There's day, dude. Sound like a vehicle on a gravel road. I caught it on the camera. Hopefully that was freaky sounding. Ears up, yeah. Twice, loud as hell. Almost sound like gunshots. It did almost sound like gunshots echoing. But there's lots of people out here. Definitely a gunshot. Close. Really close. Like within a mile. Probably within fucking half a mile. It sounds like a 22 and it sounds like it's coming from that way. It sounds like it's coming from behind you. It's 11:30. Someone must be going to bed.
shooting guns off before they go to bed or something. Scare all the coyotes off.
At first, they weren't overly concerned. Occasional shooting in remote areas isn't that unusual. People scare off coyotes, do some late target practice. But these shots were close. Really close. Maybe half a mile out. And they were getting closer. The sound echoed through the trees like someone was methodically working their way toward their campsite. Then they heard voices, hooting, hollering, and more gunfire.
It really sounds like it's coming from that way to me. I'm gonna turn my head. I'm not gonna shoot unless I show you. 1022. Hang on. I feel like we should at least once. Yeah. Just one shot. So they can't pinpoint us, but they know we're here. You know what I mean? I'll shoot Maggie.
Oh, you got an extra round? Don't shoot.
I have one extra silver tip.
No, don't do that.
Vehicle.
It sounds like they're moving. Let's turn that off.
Yeah, go. Yeah. You want to get it? You can do it. Yeah, that sounds like a vehicle. It's revving up. Wow. They're right fucking there, dude.
They're like driving around shooting.
Hooting and hollering and shooting. It's teenagers hooting and hollering. Kill the lights. They might shoot at us. Kill it and get low. For real.
That's when things escalated fast. Arnold and his buddy heard someone yell, "Fire," and another voice respond, "Where?" followed by, "Right there," clearly pointing toward their campfire. They'd been spotted. Whoever was out there shooting in the dark now knew precisely where they were. Arnold made the call instantly. Kill the lights, get low, stay quiet. They lay flat in the snow, trying to make themselves as invisible as possible, hoping whoever was out there wouldn't decide to take a shot in their direction.
No. I'm pretty sure he said, "Fire." The one dude said, "Where?" And then he said, "God dang, right there."
Yeah.
Pointing towards our
fire.
fire.
Yeah.
Like they saw our fire. The camera's still rolling.
Oh, yeah. They're rednecks, dude.
We got some redneck hill folk driving down the road in the middle of the night, just shooting randomly off into the hills.
No, it was probably just dumb
kids.
City folks. They were shooting a 22 though.
Yeah.
If we got a lot of firepower here.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely take care of ourselves.
After a few tense minutes that probably felt like hours, the voices and vehicle sounds finally moved away. Arnold and his buddy stayed put, waited for silence, and eventually felt safe enough to breathe again. They handled it perfectly, stayed calm, didn't panic, avoided drawing more attention, and let the threat pass without escalating the situation. Now, maybe it was just some locals having reckless fun. Maybe they were drunk teenagers shooting randomly into the night without realizing campers were nearby. But here's the thing. When you're firing guns in areas where people camp, especially at night, and you're actively calling out locations near campfires, that crosses a line. Stupid doesn't even begin to cover it. And when you're on the receiving end, lying in the snow wondering if a bullet's about to tear through your tent, the distinction between malice and stupidity doesn't really matter. Solo camping as a woman means constantly calculating risk. Every parked vehicle, every footstep in the distance, every stranger who appears once, then twice, then a third time in areas where you're supposed to be alone. Most of the time, it's nothing. Coincidence. Bad timing. But sometimes your gut tells you something's wrong, and ignoring that feeling can be the difference between a close call and a tragedy. Jenna Alexis creates YouTube content about wilderness adventures and solo camping experiences across Canadian landscapes. For this trip, she headed deep into Crownland, public forest in Canada, where you can camp for free, planning a relaxing bushcraft camping experience. She had her winter sleeping bag, tarp, cooking gear, and her travel companion, Herb, a stuffed monkey who's been on adventures with her before. The forest looked perfect. A partially frozen river, plenty of firewood, and complete solitude. Except she wasn't alone. And by the time she realized it, a man in a white SUV had appeared near her campsite 3 separate times. That's when she decided to abandon everything and get out.
So I'm out here on Crownland and I'm going to do a little bit of a bushcraft camp out today. I have my backpack with my sleeping kit and my cooking kit. I have my tarp and some pegs, and I have the forest all to myself. I brought my buddy Herb with me to keep me company. You might remember Herb from our bike tour on the Icefields Parkway. He's going to be keeping me company while I'm out here alone in the woods. The river's definitely not frozen yet, so I'm walking over these logs to get across because there's a couple dead trees over there that I'm looking at taking down. Got a nice standing dead tree right here. It's a really warm day today. I'm already hot. I do like to follow the tree in the direction it's already leaning, and I knew that I had this dead fallen tree in my way, but the plan is to just kind of cut it at the halfway so both halves of this one come down. Whoop. It's longer than I thought. I have to cut this again. Ooh, that was a lot of work. But I got the whole tree down, and now I just gotta lug it across the river to my campsite. I just know there's gonna be bugs in my hair. Oopsie daisy. My logs. I wasn't strong enough to throw the logs across the stream without them getting wet, and that's my firewood, so I had to carry them across. I did weigh the risk of me doing that. I know that the river, the stream is like very shallow, and I have extra socks in case I was to fall in. We did get all the logs across.
The day started beautifully. Jenna found the perfect campsite near a stream. She got to work demonstrating fundamental bushcraft skills, gathering standing dead wood, finding fat wood rich with resin for fire starting, crossing the shallow stream multiple times, and carrying firewood piece by piece. She set up a bear-resistant food bag correctly, explaining the importance of keeping food away from both grizzly and black bears in the area. Her tarp shelter came together perfectly, stretched between 2 trees with paracord and stakes. Even little Herb the monkey was tucked inside. Everything was going exactly as planned until 4 p.m.
I don't know how I didn't see that when I was walking in, but I'm going to cut this down. These standing dead trees in your camp are called widowmakers because they can squish you in the middle of the night should they fall or should a gust of wind blow them over. It is a dead tree. I'm not harming any of the living trees around here. So we're going to be taking that down for safety and for firewood. cut a notch in my tree facing that way because I want it to fall that way, but it has a bit of a lean that way. So I'm going to stay on the side. So either way it decides to fall, I'm going to get out of the way really fast, but I'm hoping I can get it to go in that gap over there. That was sick. Falling trees can obviously be very dangerous, and for that reason I don't like to go against the laws of gravity, but there were some trees on the other side that were alive that I didn't want to hit and have the tree land on, and it worked. I'm learning things. I feel like every time I come out and camp I learn more things, or I hopefully at least get better at one thing.
That's when she saw it. The same white SUV she'd encountered that morning. The one with the garbage bag taped over the missing back window. The exact vehicle whose driver had approached her hours earlier, claiming to look for something his girlfriend had left behind. Except Jenna had checked the SUV that morning through the heavily tinted windows and never saw any girlfriend. And now, after she'd relocated to a completely different campsite and hiked away from where her van was parked, this man had somehow found her again. He stopped, looked directly at her remote campsite, then turned around and left. 3 encounters. Morning, afternoon, and now late day. Each time in a different location. Each time, she was supposed to be alone in the wilderness.
Barely got everything in my bag because I didn't fold everything properly. I'm just trying to get out of here. I have half my stuff in my food bag. It's gonna be okay. He's not here right now. This is where he pulled out to, and he literally took a look at me and turned around and pulled out. But I know it was the same car. It was like a white SUV with a bag over the back of his window, and he turned around and I saw that same bag. So yeah, I'm fucking out of here. Even if that guy didn't mean any harm and he was just trying to camp here, I don't like when somebody knows where I'm camping when I'm by myself. I want to be hidden and unseen, and I don't want some man to know that I'm alone in the woods. I'm coming back to my van. Okay. Back of the van. That was a mad dash. Luckily it's not dark out just yet, so I'm gonna head home. I don't like driving in the dark, but even in the van, I don't really want to sleep out here. Okay, let's get out of here.
Jenna's survival instincts took over completely. She tore down the tarp shelter she'd worked hours to build, frantically stuffed everything into her bags without taking time to pack correctly, and started hiking back to her van as fast as she could. The careful bushcraft setup, the perfect campsite, the peaceful day, all abandoned because a man in a white SUV kept appearing where he shouldn't be. Was he dangerous? Maybe not. Maybe there really was a girlfriend. Perhaps he genuinely was looking for something they'd lost. Seeing him 3 times was unfortunate timing. But here's the thing. Jenna will never know. And that's exactly why she left. Because when you're a woman, camping alone in the wilderness, and a stranger knows your location multiple times throughout the day, the smart move isn't waiting to find out if your gut feeling was justified.
I like being a girl. Don't get me wrong, I love being a woman, I love femininity, but there are times in life I wish I was a man so that I didn't have to feel this type of way.
The smart move is to leave before you become a statistic. That's the reality of solo female camping. Most men never have to calculate risk this way. They don't have to memorize license plates or check for phantom girlfriends through tinted windows. They don't have to abandon perfect campsites because someone appeared 3 times in one day. But for women alone in remote areas, these calculations are constant. And sometimes they're the difference between making it home safely and becoming the subject of a true crime documentary. Jenna made it back to her van and left the area. The man in the white SUV? Never found. His intentions? Unknown. Was she right to go? Or was it all a misunderstanding? We'll never know. But she's still here to tell the story. And that's what matters. Most paranormal investigations turn up nothing. Strange sounds that have rational explanations. Shadows that are just tricks of light. The thrill is in the search, knowing you'll probably go home empty-handed. But sometimes you find something real. Not a ghost. Not a cryptid. Something worse. Evidence that someone is in immediate danger. And suddenly, your creepy exploration becomes a race against time to save a life. CaseOh is a Brazilian paranormal investigation channel that explores haunted locations, abandoned places, and mysterious encounters across the country. In this investigation, the team ventured deep into a remote forest area far from civilization. No cell service, dense vegetation making navigation nearly impossible. They were documenting their exploration when they heard something that didn't fit, a woman's voice, crying, calling for help from somewhere in the darkness. What they found would turn their paranormal investigation into a kidnapping rescue that saved a woman's life.
Pera aí, vou ver se a gente escuta de novo. Olha. Oh, meu Deus do céu, velho, meu Deus. Meu Deus do céu. Ou a gente vai atrás dessa mulher, ou a gente não vai. Não, vamos se embrear na moto e vamos então. Tu vai? Tem bateria pra continuar gravando aí? Eu tô até com medo de gravar isso aí, filho. Como é que não? E se for algum crime, a gente se envolve nisso aí, mano. A gente já tá envolvido, mano. Não, a gente já tá envolvido. Vamos tentar ajudar, mas eu acho que assim, filmar no cima. A gente já tá envolvido. Não, tem que filmar. A filmagem é uma segurança pra nós, pô. Uma prova, pô. A filmagem é uma segurança pra nós, mano. A mulher precisa de ajuda aí, velho. Se a gente veio aquele dia pra ver aquela mão, cara, tu não vai ter coragem agora de filmar essa parte? Pô. Claro! Se tiver alguém aí preso aí, pô, tem que filmar. É verdade. É a nossa prova, mano. Vamos entrar já. Ó. Meu Deus, cara.
The team immediately started documenting everything. Innovative thinking, because in situations like this, documentation can mean the difference between helping someone and becoming a suspect yourself. They began calling out, trying to get the woman to respond so they could pinpoint her location. But in a dense forest, sound bounces unpredictably. Voices seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. They decided to split up and cover more ground, against every horror movie rule. But sometimes real life requires calculated risks. Then they found it. A single shoe lying on the forest floor. They were close. Moments later they saw Melissa, bound to a tree, sobbing, barely conscious after nearly 20 hours without food or water.
Meu Deus do céu, velho! Meu Deus do céu! Moça! Meu Deus! Calma! Nossa, meu Deus do céu, cara! Tá amarrada! Calma! Cara, ajuda a desamarrar ela aqui, cara! Jota, ajuda a desamarrar ela, cara! Ilumina aí, velho! Cara! Deixa eu botar a câmera no chão aqui, cara! Meu Deus do céu! Jota, desamarra ela aí, velho! Cara, calma, moça! Aqui! Solta ali, aqui! Solta aqui, velho! Caramba, velho! O que aconteceu, moça? Sai daqui, moça! Peraí, deixa eu soltar aqui! Aqui, ó! O que aconteceu, moça? A gente vai
indo pro trabalho.
Calma. Que isso, velho? Caramba,
eu pego cedo. Um cara apareceu armado.
Olha só, velho.
Um cara apareceu armado, ele me rendeu, ele tava armado, ele me trouxe pra cá.
Ele fez alguma coisa contigo? Moça?
Que hoje eu não ia ser útil, que ele ia voltar amanhã.
Caramba, velho, como assim? Calma, moça, calma, eu tô te soltando. Nós vamos te ajudar, tá? Nós estamos aqui pra te ajudar, tá bom? Nós vamos te ajudar. Ele não fez nada contigo, moça?
Pegou meu celular.
Faz tempo isso?
Foi de madrugada, eu tava pegando ônibus. Caramba, velho. Trabalho.
Foi essa madrugada? Fica sentado um pouquinho. Calma, moça, calma, tá? Nós vamos te ajudar aqui, tá bom?
They untied her immediately while she cried and tried to explain what had happened. She had been waiting for the bus at 4:30 a.m. to go to work when a man approached her with a weapon. He forced her into this remote location, took her phone and bag, hit her in the neck, and tied her to the tree. Then he told her something chilling. She wouldn't be useful yet, and he'd be back tomorrow. Think about that. This woman had been tied up for almost 20 hours, completely helpless, not knowing if she'd ever see her family again or what would happen when her kidnapper returned. But then, one of the team members noticed something carved into the tree right next to where Melissa was tied. The letters L-E inside a heart, and below that, the letter M, the first letter of Melissa's name. Someone had marked this tree. Whether it was her kidnapper or evidence of previous victims, it suggested this wasn't random. The marking showed this was a place someone had used before.
Não, pô, graças a Deus. Ele levou o teu celular ou tua bolsa, é isso?
Claro, pra ela não se comunicar com ninguém, mano.
Ele falou que eu não ia ser útil ainda.
Olha aí, velho.
Ele falou que tu não ia ser útil ainda?
Olha isso, mano. Caraca, velho. Isso aí. Só deve ser aquele maluco. Não tem outra pessoa que vem pra cá, velho.
Tu diz o cara que ele... Como é que ele tava vestido? Não, pera. Aqui, ó. Tem saída aqui?
Aqui pra cá tem saída?
Ô, moça, só me responde. Desculpa até te fazer pergunta nesse momento, sei que é difícil, mas ele tava com que roupa? Ele tava vestido de palhaço ou não?
Mas ele era um cara alto.
Ela tá traumatizada.
Tá. Não, então tá, mas...
Ele tinha voz grossa.
Vamos fazer o seguinte, a gente leva ela pro carro, deixa ela se acalmar, dá um pouco de água pra ela. Cara, ela tá desde as 4h e pouco aqui, velho.
Ela tá desidratada? Claro, tem saída?
Assim, né? O Jota falou que a trilha pra lá, ó.
Só a gente pra cá. Tem a saída aqui?
Tem que ir pra... Jota,
Deu certo, assim deu certo, Jefinho.
Só ilumina na frente.
Isso, ô Jota, faz o seguinte, vai na frente do Jefinho iluminando lá pra ele, lá. Deixa o Jota passar aí, Jefinho, peraí. Deixa o Jota passar aí. Mano do céu, velho. Eu vou ficar olhando aqui a retaguarda que esse louco não tá por aqui escondido. Cara, que situação, meu Deus.
Getting Melissa out wasn't easy. Her legs were too weak from being tied for so long, and she was barely conscious. One team member ended up carrying her on his back through dense forest until they reached their truck. They gave her water, helped her into the back seat, and immediately contacted police with all the evidence they'd gathered. The tree carvings, the timeline, the location. Melissa was reunited with her family. Her kidnapper? The investigation is ongoing. This story is a reminder that when you're exploring remote locations, you never know what you'll encounter. Most of the time, it's just wildlife and natural sounds. But occasionally, you stumble into situations where someone's life is hanging in the balance. And the difference between tragedy and rescue can be as random as a paranormal investigation team happening to be in the right place at the right time. Some people investigate the paranormal from a safe distance, researching stories, interviewing witnesses, maybe visiting a location during daylight. Dee does the opposite. She camps in remote, terrifying places, sets up cameras in the dark, and actively tries to make contact with whatever's out there. Bigfoot, dogmen, shadow figures. If it's cryptid-related and dangerous, Dee's there with a camera, hoping to catch footage the rest of us would run from. And this time, she's returning to a cornfield in Iowa that's been hiding something sinister. Something that's caused 12 car crashes in 3 years by running across the road at night. Dee runs a YouTube channel dedicated to cryptid hunting and paranormal investigation. She's experienced, fearless, and knows how to handle herself in situations most people wouldn't survive. But this particular investigation would test even her limits. Residents had been reporting the same thing for years, a dark, human-shaped figure running from the woods across the cornfield and onto the road, causing drivers to swerve and crash. 12 accidents, multiple witnesses, all describing identical encounters. Dee decided to camp at the exact spot, set up equipment, and wait to see if whatever was causing the crashes would appear. What she captured on camera that night is disturbing, unexplainable, and suggests she wasn't dealing with just one entity.
Okay, hi guys, sorry. I'm nervous. Okay, so we're still in that field, but you see those woods back here? Those are the woods we were in. I found the middle spot, well, kind of the middle. It's not really middle, but listen to this. So, they heard that I was in the field, right? The ones that own it on this side. They have a barn over here, right? And there's tons. He says there's been at least 12 crashes in the last 3 years. 2 years is corn, so that's 6 each of those years. Right here by his house, because there's something that keeps running out. These guys don't talk, okay? They're so far apart, they don't talk, nothing.
From the start, Dee's equipment malfunctioned. Camera glitches, phone shutdowns. Lights are cutting out during live streams. Classic signs that something didn't want to be filmed. She'd already recorded multiple intros by the time her footage started working correctly, and even then, she warned viewers the video would be choppy because she was piecing together whatever clips survived. But she pressed on, setting up near the road with a clear view of the cornfield and woods beyond. To sweeten the deal, she threw leftover chicken wings and fries into the field as bait. Then she waited.
So something keeps happening to where people say they see a person running, but they're in black. They're blacked out. They can't make out any features, and it's the same thing. It darts towards the field right as they're coming. They almost hit it, right? So, I don't know how much of this footage is going to work, because that's clicking. Shit. Now you're clicking. Okay. So, this road right here, see the road? It's running from those woods across that field into here, but it's getting people right as they're there, and they're crashing into the ditch and into the barn and stuff. So he moved his barn back 3 years ago when the last 3 happened, or the first 3 happened. And then now they're just hitting the old foundation and stuff.
The first sign came quickly. Sounds from the field. Something that sounded like Native American drums. Then howling. Then bone-snapping noises. And then, something came flying out of the darkness toward her. An orange object is sailing through the air. When you look at the footage closely, it's unmistakable. The chicken she'd thrown into the field earlier. Whatever was out there had just thrown it back. Either it was done with it, or this was a message. Thanks, but no thanks.
I had 6 wings and some french fries, and I just threw them in there. Clicking. Listen to that. It sounds like drums, like Native American drums. Howling came from that right. CaseOh. Hello? I just heard a bone snap. I swear I did. It's snapping the bones. Listen. Let this car go by. Hello? Ooh. Clicking. Sound, I don't know what that is. I hear clicking to my right and howling. You can see where things are running in and out of the field. Look at that. They're just running through. Well. Either these things blend, because it's right. I'm losing my. I can't do this. I need to go get in the car. I gotta get in the car. What the fuck? It's got hands. It's got hands.
Then came the metallic tapping sounds. Rocks are being thrown from the field. So Dee did what any cryptid investigator with questionable survival instincts would do. She threw one back, asking if whatever was out there wanted to play. Think about that. Asking a cryptid that's been causing car accidents for years if it wants to play catch. Bold strategy. And apparently, it worked, because the rock throwing continued, back and forth, like some twisted game between human and unknown entity. Then she saw them. Multiple glowing eyes stared from the darkness. Not one entity. Multiple. All were watching her. And then the moment that made Dee realize she'd gone too far. She saw a figure standing in the field, bigger than her, human-shaped, but not human. And the detail that sent her into panic. It had hands. Clear, visible hands. Not paws, not claws. Hands.
Where's the eyes? Where's the eyes? Where's the eyes? Go, car, go. Okay, that was an orb. There's another orb. Guys, you saw what the dust... There's another orb. There's no bugs. You guys saw what the dust looks like. Oh, okay. What is that? What is that? Was that black? A minute now. Ah! What? No? Okay. Hi. Ah! Oh my God, dude. Hi. All right. Hello. Okay. I'm getting in the car. Screw this. I'm in the car. I'm staying in the car. I'm leaving. I gotta go. This is freaking me out. It's good.
That was enough. Dee packed up and left. Multiple entities with glowing eyes throwing objects back and forth, strange sounds, and now a tall humanoid figure with hands standing in the darkness. Most of us would have left way earlier, but Dee stayed long enough to capture footage that raises more questions than it answers. So what was out there? Some kind of shadow people using the cornfield as a travel route? A group of cryptids that actively interact with humans by throwing objects? The car crashes are real. 12 accidents in 3 years.